South America has somewhere north of 80,000 plant species. The Amazon alone is home to about 16,000 different kinds of trees in a single hectare of Peruvian rainforest, an area smaller than most farms. Researchers have counted almost 1,900 species growing shoulder to shoulder. That is not a forest. That is the most competitive real estate on Earth, and the rent is paid in poison. Here's why. Tropical soil is thin and constantly rinsed out by rain, so a plant can't afford to lose a leaf and just grow it back. Losing tissue is too expensive. And the insects here aren't generalists snacking on whatever's around. They're specialists, laser-focused on cracking one specific plant's defenses. So for tens of millions of years, it's been an arms race. Chemistry versus chewing. And chemistry has been winning in some genuinely terrifying ways. These are the 7 levels of deadliest plants in South America. Level 1, cassava. Also called manioc, and if you've ever had tapioca, the little pearls floating in your bubble tea, you've technically already eaten this plant. It's a staple food for roughly 500 million people. It looks like a boring brown root. It tastes like nothing offensive. And in its raw form, it's loaded with compounds that release cyanide the second the plant's cells get crushed. Eating around 2 millimoles of hydrogen cyanide is enough to kill a 70-kilogram adult. In 1990, in the town of Horizonte in Ceará, Brazil, an entire family of 8 was poisoned after eating improperly prepared bitter cassava. 4 children died. Here's the twist. There are 2 versions of this plant in everyday use. Sweet cassava, mild enough to just boil and eat, and bitter cassava, the dangerous one. Indigenous Amazonian communities figured out, centuries before anyone had heard the word cyanide, exactly how to diffuse it, grate it, press it, ferment it, dry it in the sun. Multiple days, multiple steps, and at the end you get flour. Skip a step, and you get a hospital visit. Cassava is level 1 because it's not hiding in the jungle. It's hiding in your pantry. It's a landmine that got turned into a bakery, and it only stays safe because somebody, a very long time ago, did the chemistry homework for you. Level 2. Angel's trumpet borrachero. In the Andean regions of Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Venezuela, people call it borrachero, roughly the get-you-drunk tree. It's a gorgeous, trumpet-shaped flowering shrub. It's sold as an ornamental worldwide. People plant it in their front yards without the faintest idea what's sitting inside those seed pods. What's sitting inside is a cocktail of tropane alkaloids, scopolamine, atropine, hyoscyamine. And scopolamine has a street name that sounds like it came out of a horror movie, Devil's Breath. A dose as small as 10 milligrams, odorless and tasteless, can push a person into a compliant, memory blank state. Victims have handed over PIN numbers, emptied bank accounts, walked out of nightclubs with total strangers, and remembered none of it afterward. Colombian hospitals report a real, ongoing share of poisoning cases tied to exactly this. This isn't just a modern crime story either. Ethnobotanists have documented that the pre-Columbian Chibcha people used infusions from this plant in funerary rites to sedate the wives and slaves of a dead chieftain before they were buried alongside him. Some of the wilder stories attached to this plant online. Nazi doctors, Cold War interrogation programs, circulate everywhere but rest on much thinner sourcing. Treat those as legend, not fact. Angel's trumpet is level 2 because it doesn't attack your body. It attacks your will. It doesn't knock you out. It just quietly switches off your ability to say no and then erases the tape. Level 3, castor bean. The castor bean. Quick myth bust before we go further, because almost every other video gets this wrong. This plant isn't originally South American at all. It's native to Africa. But it's been naturalized across South America for so long, growing wild along roadsides from Brazil down to Argentina, that it shows up on basically every deadliest plants of the Amazon list anyway. Consider it an extremely committed immigrant. Inside those unassuming seeds is ricin, one of the most infamous toxins on the planet. The lethal dose by injection is somewhere around 5 to 10 micrograms per kilogram of body weight. Some estimates put the total lethal amount for an adult at less than a milligram. That's not a typo. That's a grain of salt's worth of goodbye. You've probably heard of this one already, even if you didn't know the plant behind it. In 1978, a Bulgarian dissident named Georgy Markov was walking through London when someone brushed past him with an umbrella. That umbrella fired a pinhead-sized pellet loaded with ricin into his leg. He was dead within days. It's still one of the most famous assassination methods of the Cold War, and it traces directly back to this plant. Here's the part that should make you slightly uncomfortable. Castor oil. The stuff in your cosmetics, your lubricants, sometimes even your food, comes from these exact seeds, processed by the millions of tons every year. The ricin is just filtered out along the way. And weirdly, the seed's own hard coating is what saves most accidental swallowers. Kids who gulp one down whole usually pass it without a scratch. Chew it, though, and you've opened the vault. Ricin doesn't poison you the normal way. It walks into your cells and sabotages the ribosome, the factory floor where your body manufactures the proteins it needs to survive, and shuts the whole production line down from the inside. Level 4. Rosary pea. The rosary pea. Also called the jaquirity bean, which sounds like it should be a proud South American native. It isn't. Despite the very Brazilian-sounding name, the actual home turf of this plant is Asia, Africa, and Australia. It just liked South America enough to move in and never leave, and now it's a widespread invasive vine across Brazil. Its seeds are stunning, glossy red and black, the kind of thing that ends up strung into bracelets and rosaries and sold in tourist markets around the world. And they contain abrin, a toxin so structurally similar to ricin that scientists consider them cousins. Except several studies suggest abrin might be anywhere from 2 to 75 times more potent, depending on how you measure it. The estimates vary wildly. What doesn't vary much is the fatal dose in humans. One seed, well chewed, can be enough. For centuries in India, these seeds were actually used as a unit of weight, called a ratai, to measure out gold, because each one is famously, freakishly consistent in mass. Somewhere out there is a poison precise enough to become a measuring tool. It looks like candy. It's sold as jewelry. It is, without exaggeration, one of the most dangerous, innocent-looking objects a tourist could casually toss in a suitcase. If ricin sabotages the factory, abrin is the more efficient cousin who does the same job with a fraction of the raw material. Before level 5, quick favor. If this is somehow making you afraid of gardens, hit like and subscribe, because it is about to get significantly worse. Level 5. Sandbox tree. The sandbox tree. In the Amazon, it goes by its Tupi name, Asakyu. Elsewhere, it's called the dynamite tree, or monkey no climb, because the trunk is armored in defensive spikes, or the monkey's dinner bell, because of the sound it makes when it fruits. That sound is an explosion. The tree's pumpkin-shaped seed pods dry out, split apart, and fire their seeds outward at speeds researchers have clocked around 70 meters per second. That's roughly 155 miles an hour, hurling them anywhere from 30 to over 100 meters. It's one of the fastest seed launch mechanisms in the entire plant kingdom. High-speed cameras even caught the seeds flying with backspin, like a well-thrown frisbee, stabilizing their flight through the air. Nobody expects aerodynamics from a tree, and the explosion isn't even the main event. Its milky white sap is a potent toxin that indigenous, Amazonian, and Caribbean peoples have used for centuries as fish poison and arrow poison. Yet somehow, despite all of that, the tree's wood is so light that it's still carved into canoes. A tree that can maim you on the way in is also a boat-building material on the way out. The sandbox tree is level 5 because it's not just one weapon. It's a landmine, a shotgun, and a canoe factory, all growing out of the same trunk. Level 6. Curare vines. Curare. And curare isn't actually one plant. It's a family of poison preparations made from different jungle vines, depending on which part of the Amazon you're standing in. In the east, it's brewed from the bark of Strychnos toxifera. In the west, from the vine Chondrodendron tomentosum. Different ingredients, same terrifying result. Here's what curare actually does to a body. Its active compound blocks the connection between nerves and muscles. The brain stays completely awake, completely aware. It just loses every ability to send an order anywhere. The lungs stop moving. The muscles go limp. And if nothing intervenes, death comes from suffocation. Not from the heart, not from the mind, just from a body that's been quietly, silently disconnected from its own control panel. And here's the part that should genuinely blow your mind. Curare is only dangerous in the bloodstream. Swallow it, and your digestive enzymes break it down harmlessly, which means an animal killed with a curare-tipped dart is completely safe to eat. Indigenous hunters worked that out through pure trial and observation, centuries before anyone on Earth understood what a receptor was. The preparation itself took days. Boiling, straining, reducing the mixture down into a thick paste, sometimes even blending in other plants purely to help the body absorb the poison faster. That's pharmacological synergy, invented in the rainforest, with zero labs involved. Sir Walter Raleigh wrote home about this poison in 1594. It took European science over 300 years to figure out how it worked. In 1935, chemists finally isolated the active compound. And on January 23rd, 1942, at a hospital in Montreal, it was formally introduced into modern surgery as a muscle relaxant. An Amazonian hunting poison is a direct ancestor of a drug still used in operating rooms today. Curare is level 6 because it doesn't just kill you, it disconnects you, and somehow, that same disconnection ended up saving millions of lives on operating tables. Level 7. The Manchineel tree. The Manchineel tree. In 2011, Guinness World Records gave it an official title, the most dangerous tree on Earth. It's held that title ever since. Spanish conquistadors nicknamed it Manzanilla de la Muerte, the little apple of death, because its fruit looks exactly like a small green apple. Smells like one too. And it grows right along the coasts of Colombia, Venezuela, and Peru, plus the Galapagos, often within walking distance of a beach towel. Here's why it earns the title. It's not one danger. It's 4. The sap in its bark, leaves, and fruit causes severe chemical burns on contact, and it's water-soluble, which means standing under this tree in the rain can blister your skin because the sap dissolves straight into the runoff. Burn the wood, and the smoke alone can cause temporary blindness. 18th century ship logs record sailors sent ashore for firewood coming back unable to see for up to 2 weeks. And the fruit itself, if you actually eat it, causes burning blisters in the mouth and throat and internal bleeding. In 2000, a British radiologist on holiday in Tobago took one single bite of the fruit, didn't even swallow it, and later wrote about the experience in the British Medical Journal. Hours of burning pain so severe she could barely swallow anything afterward. Now, the myth check, because it matters. Despite the reputation, confirmed modern deaths from this tree are surprisingly hard to pin down in medical records. The injuries are extremely well documented. A body count is not. Even the famous story. That explorer, Juan Ponce de Leon, died from a Manchineel poisoned arrow wound in 1521, is treated by historians as likely, not proven. And one popular comparison claims this tree is up to 12,000 times more toxic than a rattlesnake bite, dose for dose. That number gets repeated everywhere, treated as a jaw-dropping headline, not a peer-reviewed fact. And here's the twist nobody expects. This tree isn't a villain in its own ecosystem. It stabilizes beaches. It prevents erosion. It shelters birds. There's an endangered iguana that eats its fruit with zero ill effects whatsoever. The most dangerous tree on the planet is also, quietly, holding the coastline together. To an insect chewing through cassava, this is a chemical minefield. To a robbery victim in Colombia, Angel's trumpet is a memory eraser with a trigger. To a surgeon in an operating room, Curare is a life-saving tool. And to a tourist standing under the wrong tree in the rain, Manchineel is a lesson that beauty and danger have never once been opposites in this ecosystem. South America didn't build the deadliest plants on Earth because nature is cruel. It built them because, for tens of millions of years, this has been the most competitive piece of ground on the planet. And evolution doesn't reward the nicest plant. It rewards the one that survives. If this made you look at your garden a little differently, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. There's a lot more out there that's beautiful, and a lot more of it that wants to kill you.